Welcome to Maritime, Pakistan. In the studio today, we're exploring the vast opportunities our oceans provide, but also the severe risks of marine transport. Specifically, we are looking at a vital layer of international law, known as the OPRC-HNS Protocol. For decades, when governments and maritime agencies prepared for ocean disasters, they focused almost exclusively on one specific nightmare: massive oil spills coating coastlines and destroying ecosystems. But oil is only part of the story. Modern commercial fleets transport thousands of highly toxic non-oil chemicals across the globe every single day. As this simulation shows, heavy, brightly colored chemicals churning beneath dark ocean waves present a uniquely dangerous, often invisible threat, which raises a critical question. What legal and logistical frameworks actually spring into action when a vessel carrying these obscure, highly reactive substances suffers a hull breach? Before the turn of the millennium, international law had a glaring blind spot. The maritime industry had strictly regulated emergency responses for oil tankers, but the oceans were left largely exposed to disasters involving other chemical payloads. Preventing oil slicks is insufficient on its own. Securing the marine environment requires a comprehensive safety net that accounts for every type of hazardous material moving across the water. To address that vulnerability, states already party to existing oil regulations gathered in London in March of 2000. Here, they formally adopted the OPRC-HNS Protocol. It took several years for nations to ratify and implement the complex guidelines, but the protocol officially became active international law in June 2007. This chart breaks down the legal classification of marine cargo pollutants. On one side, we have standard oil. On the other, the protocol defines a hazardous and noxious substance, or HNS, as any non-oil substance likely to harm human health or living marine resources. Expanding those notes further, we see the definition also explicitly covers materials that would damage coastline amenities, like beaches and resorts, or interfere with other legitimate uses of the sea, like commercial fishing. It is crucial to note that the legal structure shown here is sharply divided into two completely separate frameworks. The OPRC-HNS Protocol focuses entirely on preparedness and emergency response. It operates independently from the similarly named HNS Convention, which handles liability and financial compensation after an incident occurs. This level of precise legal distinction is entirely necessary. The international community cannot mandate global preparation against a threat until they first codify exactly what that threat is. With the terminology locked in, the protocol mandates a two-tiered defense strategy. At the macro level, it requires individual states to establish their own sovereign national systems for responding to pollution incidents. Because chemical spills do not respect maritime borders, this map illustrates the protocol's international cooperation mandate. You can see national response centers connecting, representing a global framework to share equipment, personnel, and expertise during major threats. But a rapid response requires action at the source. Zooming in from the global network down to a single commercial vessel in an isolated shipping lane, we see the micro-level mechanism at play. The law requires that individual ships carry a specialized, highly detailed shipboard pollution emergency plan on board at all times. Crucially, a standard oil spill manual does not meet the requirement. These shipboard plans must be specifically engineered to neutralize or contain incidents involving the exact hazardous and noxious chemicals listed on that ship's manifest. True maritime security relies on this dual-layered defense. An emergency on the water is first met with immediate, micro-level action by the ship's crew, supported rapidly by macro-level resources from international governments. Before the year 2000, commercial ships carrying industrial chemicals sailed through a fractured regulatory landscape. Today, under the OPRC-HNS Protocol, ships moving hazardous and noxious substances face the exact same stringent preparedness and response regimes as massive oil tankers. The institutional driving force behind this standardized safety net is the International Maritime Organization. Operating from their London headquarters, the IMO remains the ultimate authority in drafting and enforcing global ocean protection laws. The 2000 protocol successfully plugged a massive vulnerability in maritime defense, forging a comprehensive global framework that responds to all forms of marine pollution. Thank you for joining us here at Maritime, Pakistan. If you have questions about international shipping regulations or maritime law, Drop them in the comment section below so we can address them in future videos. Securing the world's oceans means looking past obvious dangers to the exactly as prepared for invisible chemical threats